Hi, I'm Bob. My first video was about basic scales and chords, being a basic scale being do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do. Turn my music on here. On a simple chord, on a simple scale, which is C, no sharps or flats. And then the chords, which are the first, third, and fifth interval of a scale of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. First, third, fifth is a scale, is a major chord. The D, major chord, first, third, fifth. E. And we talked a little bit about the difference in chords. Just in themselves may have a little bit of a different feel from one chord to the other, just because of the way the chord frequencies interact. When we talked about chords played in a guitar, for example, where one or more of the strings is an open string, where the guitar player is not pressing that string up against a fret, it's just open. So in the key of E and the key of A and some other keys, they can play those chords with a little bit of open and more resonance, and it sounds different. So if you've got a song that you're trying to play in the band, and you say, well, our singer can sing that better in a different key, you have to realize that if you're going to play in a different key, it may have a different sound. If you're using horns and strings and keys, it may not have as much. But if you're going to depend a lot on guitar chords, especially acoustic chords, you can have a big difference in the resonance that you're getting from those chords and those keys. So that sort of brings us up to date. We talked about the major chord. There are a couple of variations of that are used commonly in music. The first one is the minor chord. The minor chord is a major chord with a dropped third, which means the third interval is dropped a half step. So it's, here's C, 1, 2, it's the first, third, and fifth. You drop the third a half step, and that's a minor. D major, D minor. Minor chords always sound to me like it's mysterious and it's just not right. It feels like you want to resolve into that major chord, which is a happy chord. And you got your minor chord here. It's not... songwriters like to have minor chords in bridges and choruses because it's an offset to the major chord that may be in the verses, or vice versa. So it's just a different way to relate a chord, and it has a different sound to it. So a minor chord is major chord, drop the third, it's a minor chord. Now, the next chord we're going to talk about, which is used a lot, is a seventh. It gets complicated in technical musical terms. Most of the time when someone talks about a seventh, they're talking about the seventh interval, which in the case of a C chord is a B, dropped a half step. It sounds like this. So you can hear the difference. Major, sounds almost like a transitional chord where you're expecting something else. In fact, you are. You're expecting. And I should have prefaced this. I am not a professional music player. I'm not even an educated music player. I taught myself most everything that I'm telling you. The terms may be not exactly right, but I think that the concept is, and I'm trying to teach it in a way that I find it easy to remember. When I first started this, I played mathematically, where I had to remember that the first, third, and fifth, and it took a while to where I'm playing intuitively now, what I would call it, where it's more natural for me to move and know which keys to press. So I'm sort of going on the mathematical side for these instructions right now. And again, I'm not a professional. I'm not professionally trained. If you want all the exact terminology, go find your favorite music teacher and they'll be able to help you with that. But hopefully you'll be able to play along with songs that you like, or maybe with your band, with a little bit more education. So let's go back to the seventh. When you see a C seventh in music, if you've got a song sheet, just got the chords that say C7, this is what they're looking for. It's not technically correct because this is a C minor seventh. A C major seventh is a C chord with this B, which is the 7 on the interval. And this sounds a little bit different. It sounds a little sour. It's something that needs resolution into something else really quickly. It's maybe used in walk downs where you go, that's going from a C to a C major seventh to a C minor seventh. When you have those little walk downs, you'll use that. But if you're just playing a 1, 4, 5 blues, you may use the seventh. They call it a seventh. It really is a minor seventh, where you're using this flatted seventh in the chord. An inversion would be something like this and like this. You can actually play the root and the minor seventh and the third and the fifth together to get that sound. But again, it's something that makes you want something. Where do I go from here? Where do I go? Where do I go? There. It resolves itself. You can just feel the, I don't know what you call it, tension or whatever, but it's used to make those transitions from a major to a different major in the sequence of the chords. And that's really the most important chords that you'll need to know. You'll see a lot of chords like suspended fourth and stuff. You can look those up on the charts. But for most of the playing that I do is I'll use a major chord, 1, 3, 5. I'll use a minor chord, lowered. A flatted third is a minor chord. So if you see a D with a little M next to it, that's a D minor. If you see on a song sheet it just says D, D minor, and then a D seventh would sound like this. And you could also have a combination. You can have a D minor, which is a flatted third, seventh, which is a step down from the eighth, or a half step down from the 7. And that's real common when you're playing in minors to have a minor seventh. That doesn't sound quite right. That's a D minor seventh. This is a C minor seventh. Still makes you feel like you need to resolve that to something. So just a little blues chord being to the 7th, to the F, F 7th, back to the C, up to a G major, and that might even sound good with the 7th. So either you can hear these changes in a song that you're listening to, and it's got a 1, 4, 5 chord structure, or if you're looking at at a song sheet, which is basically, I call a song sheet a sheet with lyrics and just the keys above the lyrics, where you have to figure out if there's a lead. You have to figure that out on your own. But the chords, you can play it along with any song if you know the chords. Sometimes it drags if you want to play a chord all the time, or you do a little bit of, if you know the keys of the chord, play individual notes and it sounds like a little counter melody. So that's about it for the minor and seventh chords, which you have. Now we know the major chord. You can have a seventh, or you can have a minor, and you can have a minor seventh. And again, the major, the minor, a seventh, a minor seventh, and they, throughout the song, it adds variety to the song, and it adds that tension of the listener knows that it's got to change to something because it just doesn't feel comfortable right there. So it gives you some dimension to your songs.